If I asked you to take the phrase financial freedom and picture something in your mind, what would you see? Would it be you just running through a field in slow motion because you're debt-free? Is it you sitting on a rocking chair with an ice cold lemonade, just watching the world go by? Is it you picturing your kids graduating from college and knowing that they are debt-free, they don't have any student loans? What does financial freedom kind of look like for you? While many of the things that I kind of just mentioned there are nice financial goals to have, things to kind of strive for, I want you to think a little bit differently about financial freedom. And I want you to define it in a very specific way because it's going to be very important. It's going to be your motivation. Your definition of financial freedom is going to be your motivation to keep moving forward financially. And we're going to get into that definition right after this. Hey there, I'm Adam Hagerman, your financial coach, and if you're saying things like, with my income, I shouldn't feel this stressed about money, then you're in the right place. This channel is all about helping you better understand your money so you can use it as a tool to help you achieve financial freedom. And we're gonna talk about just that today. We're gonna talk about financial freedom, and specifically, what is your definition of financial freedom? Because it's different for everybody. Financial freedom, you're gonna find here, is gonna be your most important financial goal that you're ever going to set. And to properly define what financial freedom means to you, I recommend asking yourself this question, and that is, if money wasn't an issue, what would I do? Again, if money wasn't an issue, what would I do? Take that question and define what you would do if money wasn't an issue. If you had enough money, that money could generate money, that, again, you could do almost anything financially. You didn't necessarily have to work at that job that you don't necessarily care about. You don't like the commute. You don't necessarily like all the people that you work for. You don't like your boss, whatever it is. If money wasn't an issue, what would you change with your life? And I want you to use that as that beacon, that kind of light at the end of the tunnel financially for you to say, that's where I want to be one day, and what do I need to do along the way in my life financially to get to that definition? Now, one of the first key steps in defining financial freedom is realizing that it is your definition of financial freedom, and your definition of financial freedom is going to be way different than somebody else's. And there's a lot of noise out there, and people helping you try to define what financial freedom is. And if you can drown out that noise, you can then properly define it for you. How do you want to use your money in the future? What do you want it to help you achieve financially? What is that kind of big overall goal that you have financially? Now, let me give you a few examples of some definitions of financial freedom. Remember, these are just examples. I don't want you to use these, but I want to give you a general understanding of, defining that question of, if money wasn't an issue, what would I do? Maybe it is something that you say, I want to work in an animal shelter one day, and I want to work there full time. And I know that those jobs right now don't pay much money, maybe $10 an hour, $15 an hour, something like that. I'm not saying that you're a veterinarian or anything. I'm saying you just want to kind of work there and care for the animals. With your current financial situation right now, maybe the debt that you have, the lack of an emergency fund, other things, maybe you can't do that right now. You need to continue to work at the job that you have because you don't have enough money. You wouldn't make enough money at $10 to $15 an hour in order to continue sustaining your financial life right now. So that is kind of that goal of, I want to have enough money that the money's not really an issue anymore because I've got money saved somewhere else. I've eliminated my debt, whatever it may be. You're now able to kind of say, I can quit my job that I don't really care that much about to go work at this other job that I'm going to find much more passion out of. I'm going to work 40 hours a week still, but it doesn't matter to me that I'm working 40 hours a week. I enjoy going to my job because that's what I always wanted to do. It was something like that. Maybe it's a big goal of yours to live somewhere else in another country. Maybe you've got family that lives somewhere else in the world, and you're not able to live there right now because you need to stay where you're currently at to be able to care for somebody else or to pay the bills or something else like that. It's an ultimate goal of yours, though, to move back to that country where you came from, or to move to another country that has a lower cost of living or a better life, as you may view it. So how can you get there? Again, that might be your definition of financial freedom. And if you have that definition, it says, my ultimate goal is to be able to move to this country someday. All those other financial things, those smaller financial goals that you're going to have throughout your life, you're going to hold them up against that big overall goal of wanting to achieve financial freedom, to move to that other country at some point in the future. So, those are just two examples of financial freedom, somebody's definition of financial freedom. And remember, you need to define it for yourself. So take that step back and say, if money wasn't an issue, what would I do? Not what would somebody else do? Not what my neighbor would do, not what another family member would do or a coworker. What would I do if money wasn't an issue? Because if you can define that, then you're going to have that thing that you can write down somewhere, put it on a piece of paper, remind yourself all the time of what's most important to you. How can I use my money as a tool to get me to that definition of financial freedom so I can feel so much better financially? So again, I want you to stay away from the kind of traditional norms, the definitions that some people sometimes give. When I just kind of like throw it out there in the blue and I say, what does financial freedom mean to you? You might say, oh, retire one day, or something else like that. Well, you got to elaborate more. What does retirement mean to you? What does that time mean to you when you are able to retire? Money's not an issue anymore. What do you want to do at that point? So don't just say, oh, I want to travel too. Well, where do you want to travel? How much do you want to travel? Those are important answers to that overall question of, if money wasn't an issue, what would I do? Now, it may take you a few days, maybe even a few weeks to define what financial freedom means to you, but you need to do it. And understand that it's not set in stone. It's certainly something that you can change over time. What you view as financial freedom today might be different a year from now or 5 years from now. But it's very important that you do define financial freedom, because the longer you wait to define it, the more difficult it is to achieve it, because you always make financial decisions. You make financial decisions on a daily basis. Every few months, maybe you make a bigger financial decision or have a bigger financial goal where you spend more money on something. So not having that definition of financial freedom in place, you're going to make a lot of financial decisions along the way there. And when you go back later and you say, oh, I finally figured out what my definition of financial freedom is, maybe it's going to be too late. And I don't think it's ever too late to achieve financial freedom, but it's going to be much more difficult the longer you wait to define it, because of all those other smaller financial decisions that you're going to make along the way. So make sure you define financial freedom before moving forward in your path to achieving it. I also want you to know that in order to achieve financial freedom, you're going to have to become something that I call a financial rebel. Because you're going to have a lot of people, if you tell them what your definition of financial freedom is, they're going to look at you like you're nuts, like you're crazy. That's so stupid. I can't believe that you want to do that one day. That's the worst idea that I've ever heard. You got to get out of your own head, though, then at that point and say, no, I don't want to listen to this person. I don't care what this person thinks. This is what I want to accomplish financially. This is my definition of financial freedom. So you're going to have to be that financial rebel to drown out that noise. And the more that you can accept that other people are going to kind of, poo-poo on your definition of financial freedom, the more likely it is that you're going to achieve it. So make sure you become that financial rebel, and know that you're going to have to probably be that financial rebel for your entire life. And then one day when you achieve financial freedom and you go back to that person and that said you were crazy, you can show them that you weren't crazy, and maybe you can change their mind then too, that financial freedom is attainable. To keep moving forward, make sure you check out this video right over here on the steps that you need to take to ultimately achieve financial freedom. Because once you define financial freedom, it's much easier to create the map to ultimately get you there. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. A lot of things financially are difficult, but you need to take the steps to get there, because you deserve financial freedom. You got to take care of your money so it can take care of you later. I'll see you next time.